Good evening, students. I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to start with vocabulary, synonyms and antonyms. One more class of vocabulary, word building and looking at words from a different perspective so that we add up a lot of synonyms and antonyms and create a wonderful world of vocabulary words. And these words learn just having a class, just doing it is not enough. You have to keep practicing it too. You have to keep using these words. You have to keep working on it. So please, best of luck all of you. Let's start the class. What are basically synonyms? Just a quick recap of what synonyms are. Synonyms are words or phrases that mean the same or very similar or nearly the same. If it is not necessary that all the synonyms can be used in the same manner, they are like the fingers. I keep telling it all the time. They are like fingers of our hand, which the usage is different for each finger. So, if you are learning synonyms and antonyms, that does not mean that you could replace one word for the other, but we should also know there could be subtle changes or nuisances that will happen. So we should make sure that it is done. Okay, and the next one is happy or glad. Happy and glad both are basically synonyms, and we will be doing it. Let's go to the next one now. Kate. Now, actress Kate studied or read French and Russian literature at Oxford. Now, studied and read also means the same, but studied is more, focused, and read is just reading it. Okay, so let's go to the next one about what synonyms further are. Synonyms are usually related to adjective, verbs, and nouns or we need to understand that whenever we are using an adjective, the synonyms that we pick up should also be in adjective form. Some words could be different in an adjective form, in an adverb form, in an noun form, or in the verb form. So we should understand whenever we are picking up the synonyms, please understand that if you are if you want to use it as a noun, you should only pick up words that are basically nouns. If you want to use words that are basically verbs, we should pick up words that are basically verbs. Not we just can't use it anything and anywhere and everywhere. Okay, so that's about the adjectives, adverbs, nouns and verbs. And further going, we should always adhere to one part of speech. We cannot juggle between the two. We cannot use an adjective word in place of a verb word. So make sure that whenever you're picking up the synonyms or antonyms, you pick up from the right, if it's a noun, pick up a synonym from the noun only. If it is a verb, pick up the verb from the synonym. Not all words can be changed from nouns to verbs and adjectives to adverbs. Okay, so please make sure that you have that on mind. The next one is, let's have the adjectives. The reason is unimportant. The reason is irrelevant, has adverbs. They could be he eats fast, he eats quickly. Now they're all synonyms. When I'm talking about unimportant, I can say that it is insignificant, trivial, trifling. They're all synonyms, for unimportant. When I say fast, I cannot use fast as one word that I can use. I don't have to use an ly even if you use it as an adverb. So quickly, ly. Okay, so we have to make sure that it has to be done. The next one that we need to remember about is when we are using nouns. Not all verbs can be used as nouns. We should understand that, because it's like the names. Can we use every word as a name? No, we cannot use that. So, shall I take the dogs? Shall I take the mutts? Now, both of them are basically the dogs. The next one is the verbs. I need to contemplate the consequences. I need to consider the consequences. When I say contemplate and consider, they mean the same. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Conjunctions. What are conjunctions? Conjunctions are words used for joining words. We have just seen that we have changed adjectives. Adjectives are basically describing words. We have used describing words for nouns, and when we are using adverbs, they are describing words for verbs. Now we are using nouns, they are basically the name of anything and everything. Now we are talking about conjunctions. Conjunctions are basically joining words. I should tell her as she is my sister. The next one is I should tell her because she is my sister. So we need to make sure that we are creating this kind of a variety when we are using. I mean, it has to be the same. It has to be the synonyms of the same pattern. Okay, so make sure that when you are using as, the usage of as and because is the same, is what I would like to say. Now, if you would want to use it as an interjection, the same way goes, yes, Captain. I, Captain. Now this is about yes, it is more formal in usage, and I or nay is more informal in usage. So you need to understand when are you using each one of it. Yes can be used everywhere, but whenever you're using I, you have to think once again. Okay, let's go to the next part, and here we are going to talk about prepositions. And upon arrival, take a ticket. On arrival, take a ticket. Now, both of them are basically prepositions, and we could use it that way. When we're talking about pronouns is I will show you for my yacht. Unsinkable. 2. She is a beauty. I will show you my yacht. Unsinkable. 2. It is a beauty. Now, here, she and it both are pronouns, and they are basically synonyms. Why? Because if I'm personifying my yacht, if I want to personify my yacht, then it has to be, and I would be using she there. But if I'm not personifying the yacht and I'm basically using it, as a non-living thing, then I will use it. So invariably they are basically synonyms. Yet, if you want to personify something, you cannot just juggle from calling it sometimes and she sometimes. You have to make sure if you're saying it, make sure that it is only it. And if you are calling it she, then you have to call it she the whole of the way. So you cannot use it and she juggle around. So you have to make sure that whichever one you pick up, you have to adhere to it. The next one that comes up is basically the synonyms contrast with the antonyms. Now, there are a couple of words. Not every synonym will have the same antonym. Antonyms are words with opposite meanings, making them the opposite of synonyms. Okay, so you have to understand. And now, just because they are synonyms, it might not be possible that you could have an antonym that can be used for all of them. So beware of that. So when you are building words, it's like building a building or a foundation. So you need to make sure that you know absolutely what are the root words, you know absolutely what are Greek and Latin words, you know the nuances of the words. And then when you are building it up, it makes sense, and at the same time you could also use them as you can use them everywhere. When you are speaking, when you are reading, when you are writing, you can use them anywhere and everywhere. So let's start. So bad is an antonym of good. So therefore, coward is an antonym of hero. So they are basically words that they are used. Now, why should I care about synonyms? Why should I care about synonyms? Now, the reason why I should care about synonyms is because there are 3 good reasons and 1 bad reason to care about synonyms. The good reason is that to keep your handwriting interesting. Repeating the same word can make the writing dull. Yes. It will make the writing dull. Keep on using one single word. Take out a single word and start using it again and again. pick up a word like beautiful and start using it again and again. Now, for example, I have a word called beautiful. She is a beautiful woman. She has a beautiful purse. If I keep on using the word beautiful again and again and again, do you think it is going to look interesting? No, right? Yes or no? Now, in the same way, thank you for your cooperation. See the example. Thank you for your cooperation. We would have failed without your cooperation. What do you think would be the best way? Keeping your writing interesting by creating some literary variances with synonyms. Check now, I have two words called cooperation and cooperation. So do you think I can make a variance by using one word or changing one word? Thank you for your assistance. We would have failed without your cooperation. You don't have to achieve literary variances as you're typing. Just repeat the word and then let your thesaurus earn its living. Clear? You always need not have to work hard. You can also use your thesaurus, but you can also become a thesaurus as and as you keep adding words to your bank, vocab bank actually. The second good reason is to fine tune your communication. Whenever you're speaking, when you are using variations, it sounds better. Remember, the synonyms are words that mean or very nearly mean. They might have subtle differences, so please make sure that you identify them before it's too late. Nearly mean the same. Those differences can be important. Recognizing the different connotations. Yes. Now, I am a glad man rather than using I am a happy man is not a very good idea, is what I feel. So, synonyms will help you nail the right word, be it in a poem or business letter. The way we used assistance and cooperation. Just think how you can make it look better. Didn't it look better than when you used assistance and cooperation? Right? And the pond was dark, murky. Choose a word that fits the precise image you want to portray. Now, I want to say that the pond was dark, metamorphical. The pond was dark, but instead I say the pond was murky. I mean to say muddy and it is not clear water. That's what I would like to say. So rather than using dark, murky sounds better, or murky sounds more, it sounds more better. I mean, it sounds better. That's it. Now, good reason number 3 is that to find a rhyming, rhythmic or alterative word. Now, you find a rhyming and a rhythmic or alterative word, you have to make sure that this is more easier to understand and it is more easier to, the variance is seen and it is more, it sounds good in the ears. Something does not keep clinking all the time. So, we need to understand that. To find a word that fits your needs poetically, put a synonym and then use your thesaurus to hunt down a better fitting word. That is basically one way of doing it. But if you are preparing for some competitive examinations and you want to do better, so you have to definitely make sure that it has to be more systematic, and you have to keep adding it. You have to keep word building has to be done more clearly and precisely. So a piece of shard shaped her shoulder blade. Now this sounds really good. To avoid a word you cannot spell. Now this was a perfect example of not using different vocabulary, because if you cannot pronounce it or spell it, it's going to be a problem. So it is not going to be really good, and so you need to make sure that you actually use words, synonyms that basically fit your need, not to show off that you have good vocabulary. One more reason I would like to tell you is, please, 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 please don't misjudge or misinterpret the intensity of a word. It is very, very important to understand the intensity of the word. Beautiful. As we go forward, you will check, you will see how things change, and you will see the intensity of the word is a world apart. Okay, so let's go forward. According to musician Burt Bacharach, a synonym is a word you use when you can't spell the first word you thought of. He was joking, of course. My conscience, integrity won't allow it. If you can't spell conscience, please don't use it. It's hard to condone this reason, but it's not unhelpful. So now if you are not sure that you cannot use it, don't use it. There would be many words that you might have seen, you might have felt, you might have understood, but you don't remember it. Make sure that every word that you use, you should be able to understand it. You should be able to remember it. If you can't remember it, that is not for you. So there's a plethora of words, there's no dearth of words, so please make sure that you choose at your own convenience whatever you want to. When you're building up your vocabulary, or when you're word building, you're participating in a word building exercise, make sure that whenever you have a lot of words, try to pick up the right one. Try to pick up the word that goes well with you. Okay, that you could remember and that you can understand. Okay, so let's go forward. Use synonyms to apply literary variants. Use the subtle differences in synonyms to fine-tune your message. Okay, so make sure that you use your thesaurus to find the words that fits you poetically, needs poetically. It's really very important that you could use a thesaurus. But you cannot always depend on a thesaurus. When you're speaking, you cannot go and hunt down the meanings of the words. We have to make sure that we need to, use it properly. So we need to understand that we have to use it poetically. So we have to use it more resourcefully. So while we are accumulating words, we should make sure that we are not going to overload it with different words, but we are going to have a set of words which are very, very to the point, and which we can remember, and we know the intensity of the word. So we will, as we go forward, we'll check what intensity of the word would mean. So the antonyms also mean the same. They are the words with opposite meanings, and the easy examples of bad is an antonym of good, covered is an antonym of hero, and definitely that's what it is. So more examples is a word can have more than one antonym, and the following are all the antonyms of good. See, I told you, feel the intensity of the word. The intensity of the word is very, very important. So when we talk about the intensity of the word, we need to understand that when I say bad, corrupt, evil, evilness, malicious, sore, and wicked. Now I just wanted to say he is a bad boy. I didn't mean that he's a wicked boy. I didn't mean that he's an evil boy. I didn't mean that he's a malicious boy. I didn't mean he's a sore boy. I didn't mean he's wicked. I just said he's a bad boy. So do you think, see the intensity of bad and evil. See the intensity of bad and wicked, or bad and corrupt, or bad and sore. They are a world apart. So we need to understand that when we are doing this kind of a work, we need to understand where each word stands. If you don't understand where each word stands, then you are going to be in a slump. So therefore, wicked is someone who has a bad, harmful feeling in them. Corrupt is someone who is financially corrupted, who takes bribes and who can do a scam. Evil is someone who can, who has hostile feelings and is dangerous. Whereas bad is just bad. See the intensity. The intensity goes from one end to 1,000 other ends. So we need to understand that. Okay, so the first point is that good, like many words, can be a noun or an adjective. So its antonyms are a mix of nouns and adjectives too. Any noun can be converted into an adjective, and any adjective can be converted into a noun. That is possible. Rather, all the nouns can be, converted into adjectives. Basically, the adjectives that are converted into nouns and not the other way around. But any which ways, we can definitely, if you look at it, you are just going to add. For example, if it is beautiful, beauty is a noun and beautiful is a adjective. So that's how it goes. So love is a noun, whereas lovable is a adjective and lovely is a adverb. So we are going to differentiate like that. So please, so whenever you're using words, make sure that you're going to use it looking at the intensity or the depth of the word. So there are two main types of antonyms: graded antonyms and complementary antonyms. Let's check them. What are graded antonyms? Graded antonyms do not have to be opposites of equal weighing. They allow for shades of oppositeness. For example, the following are the antonyms of good: unsatisfactory, poor, bad, terrible. See now, she has a bad behavior, she has a poor behavior, she has an unsatisfactory behavior. Fine, they are on the same, Here are some graded antonyms for thin. Now, obese, chubby, plump, fat, overweight, stout, burly, brawny, well-built, averagely built, or robust, they are all means this. So basically, they are not just the opposite. This just means that they are just not skinny. They are a little more than thin. Okay. So the next one that we have to check is a complementary antonyms. When we are talking about complementary antonyms, they offer no middle ground. Yes, no. They are strongly paired. Now that means there's no other word. There's just one word for one antonym. Check this. Can we have a mid ground for buy and sell, or before and after, or husband and wife, or dead and alive, or doctor and patient? No. In all these cases, they are complementary antonyms which does not have, you don't have a choice. You have to say yes or a no. You cannot say a kind of yes and a kind of no. No, sorry. Okay, so that's about complementary antonyms, and they are like the predator and the prey. You don't have a mid ground there. You just have to be this or that. The next one is yes and no. That's the best one to explain this whole thing of complementary antonyms. Adding a prefixes to form an antonym. Now, they quite often, antonyms are made by adding a prefix or a suffix. And first we'll start about prefix, and then we will talk about a suffix. For example, likely, unlikely, able, unable, entity, non-entity, combatant, non-combatant, typical, atypical, symmetrical, asymmetrical, decent, indecent, discrete, indiscrete. These are the words variances. Like the moment we add them, they're just going to be the opposite one. See, when you're saying able and we are saying unable, so the one is able and the next one is unable. So it's completely a shift change that goes with everything. So there's some prefixes you just have to we add that prefix, like important, unimportant, responsible, irresponsible, impossible, impossible, relevant, irrelevant, legitimate, illegitimate, illicit, so these words, the moment you add it, it becomes the antonym. So we need to understand them very well. Okay. Now, comfortable, uncomfortable, right? So they entity, non-entity. Now we have all of them. We have used them, and we can also say moral, amoral, mortal, immortal. So the moment we are adding those prefixes, we are going to completely create a antonym for it. Let's go to the next slide, and it says, why should I care about antonyms? Yeah, there are again the three good reasons why we should care for antonyms. To keep your writing interesting, yes, the more the more ways variants you show in your writing or in your speaking, rather than using she's a cute, has a cute writing, she has a cute smile, she can write, she speaks cutely. I can use different words. She writes beautifully. She has a cute smile, or she has a sweet smile, and she has beautiful. She has an amazing. She does amazing artwork. So when I'm using variances, it looks more interesting. Cute, 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 cute. I mean, it does not look good. Okay, so that's what it does. It creates a variance. It adds variety. It adds spice to your speech or your speaking skills or your communication skills or your writing skills. So make sure that you absolutely follow it, and you should, practice it so that you know when to use that and get the marks, right? So let's go forward. His strong bicep bulged in the sleeve. Seriously. His far from feeble bicep bulged in the seal. So we need to understand that, strong bicep instead of strong, I said far from feeble. This is a phrase now that I have used which says that it is strong. Okay, so let's go forward. When you say his strong bicep bulged, I mean, it looks very, rather than bulged, I think we can use something else there. Okay, so let's go. This is a little more interesting and a little more rhythmatic too. The second one, obviously, not the first one. The reason number 2 is to sound more factual, and you can use a synonym, antonym, to form a deliberate double negative. A double negative is I ain't got no money. Is not always a mistake. Why then using something double negative more diplomatic or factual? Let's see this. She's beautiful. She could not be described as unattractive. Now, could not, unattractive. Both are again synonym. Both are again, they are double negatives. So make sure that you don't use something like this. So this sounds far from factual than complimentary is what it means. Let's go to the next one. Reason number 3, to improve vocabulary. Obviously, you're going to improve your vocabulary. You're going to, show it off, and you understand reading passages better on your SATs, on your ACTs. You can understand the context better, and when you speak and when you use those words, you sound better rather, and more like a conventional speaker. Okay, so learning antonyms is an effective way to expand your vocabulary because the original word provides a mental hook to hang the antonyms on. So axiomatic synonym is obvious and the antonym is questionable. Erudite. We have all these words. We are going to do a lot of Why are the key points? Why do we have to learn antonyms? Use antonym to spice up your choice of words and to vary sentence structures. Yes, spice it up. Have that aroma in the air when you're speaking and when you're, you know, making up things, it would be amazing. Use antonyms to form deliberate double negatives to fine tune your message. Use antonyms to improve your vocabulary. So these are some things that you have to do to make sure that, you know, to why are we, you know, doing so much to improve our vocabulary is to understand that we can speak better. Our expressions are more to the point, brief, concise, and the expression is apt. That is the main thing. The expression is apt. It does not vary from the original picture. Okay, so let's have some words and their meanings, and let us start making some synonyms and antonyms for them so that we understand why we are doing them. Begrudge, congeal, effusive, glacial, irrational. Now, in all these words, the meanings are: begrudge is basically resent, congeal is to solidify, effusive is gushing and demonstrative, glacial is basically hostile, unfriendly, cold, and icy, irrational is unreasonable. So, let's start finding synonyms and antonyms for these words and let's start building our vocabulary. Let's start. I'll give you 2 minutes time for each word so that we can hunt down the thesaurus and add and then make a notes, make a own book of your own, make a small dictionary of your own where you will keep adding words, and now you will add those words which you feel that you would be able to use it. When you listen to a word, you sometimes use it 2 or 3 or 4 times, and then you feel that yes, this is a word that I'm definitely going to use. So make sure that you pick up words that are more complementing your personality rather than just using it just because you want to use it. And mugging up is one thing that I would not suggest, because when you mug up, the it is definite that you cannot make chamatkar, but you can definitely make balatkar. So mugging up is not the option. So pick up words that that are appealing to you, not to your neighbor, to you, and that will really spice the work up. So let's start working on each word, and let's start. Begrudge, when we are talking about begrudge, what does it mean? Now, for your information, begrudge is basically a verb. So definitely you can use ed ing form with it. So we can have words like envy, Begrudge. Grudge is again one more word that you can use. Regret is one more word. They are basically synonyms. Let's go to congeal now. You can also say begrudge could be reluctant, hesitant. Let's go to the next word. Congeal. You can say congeal also. When you are talking about congeal, congeal is basically to solidify. So when you say it is solidify, you can say it's a gel, it's dry, it's cloth, it's cake, it's harden, it's thicken, it's stiffen, it is cloth. Let's go to the next one. Effusive. We are going to talk about effusive now. Let me write down those words. You could add these words, and then you could use soften as the antonym. Let's go to the next word, effusive. We'll get 2 more minutes to start. Let's start. Effusive When you're talking about effusive, we are going to talk about effusive is basically demonstrative and gushing. So let's see what words could come up there. It is basically, effusive is basically enthusiastically showing pleasure and gratitude or approval. So therefore we are going to say profuse, use words like profuse. We are going to use words like extravagant, enthusiastic, exuberant, ebullient, profuse, unreserved, unrestrained. So therefore the antonym would be meager. Let's talk about glacial. When we talk about glacial, we already have words like hostile, unfriendly, cold and icy. So I don't think we need to add more. So we have added some antonyms here about glacial, about being benevolent, cordial, amenable, amicable. These are the words which talks about friendly. We have irrational, unreasonable, absurd, illogical. And obviously the antonyms are basically to logical, reasonable, valid, this is how we are going to add more words. Please make a note and let's go to the next group of words. Navigable, see the meanings now. Let's check. Let's go with the first word, navigable, and let's check what we can add. Navigable would mean something that is that can be navigated. So they are basically negotiable, passable, traversable, crossable. Nautical, so we add words like passable, negotiable, traversable. We'll use words like this. So therefore, we can understand what it is. So therefore, navigable, nautical is also one word. Yes. Let's go to the next word, perspicacity. Now, if navigable is being able to sail, therefore, the antonym would be innavigable or uncrossable or impassable. So the word would be like that. Let's go to the next one, perspicacity. Let's start adding words. Insight, it means insight. So let's start it. When it's an insight, it means it is the shrewdness, the sagacity, wit, acumen, penetration, and discernment. We'll have a small word. This means acumen, wit, the shrewdness of a person. The next one is rage. Now for rage we have 4 words already. It talks about destroy, demolish, tear down. So therefore we will not add much words, you can keep adding. Now we can add antonyms for this word. To build, to create, to innovate, inception, incept, conceive, They are all antonyms. Let's go to the next one, subterfuge, and let's start adding the meaning is trick. Let us start adding the synonyms. It's a trick, it's a ploy, it's a dodge, it's a ruse, it's a pretense, it's deception, a plot, pretense. So make sure when you're writing something, you know that. Now, when you're talking about a trick, a ruse is a bigger one. Okay, a deception could be a small one too. So we need not use a word like subterfuge for that word. Clear? Now wane. When we're talking about wane, we're talking about grow less. So lessen, smaller, minute. All these words come into the picture. Let's keep adding some more words. Let's start. Now basically when you're waning, it becomes pale. It looks like death warmed up, or it looks sickly, it looks ghastly, it looks bleached, it looks faded, it looks washed out. All these words go with synonyms. Pallid, anemic, discolored. So basically, ghostly. This is what has to be the meaning. Clear? So this is what we have done for the synonyms and antonyms. I hope it is clear, and I hope why adding up words makes sense and how it is going to help you in your future as to express your feelings or to express your in contextual meaning or to communicate well. So therefore, don't miss the synonyms and antonyms part. Please check other sessions that are basically on this synonyms and antonyms, so that we learn a lot of words. Try to make sentences with these words. They will really add up, and you can actually be more enthusiastic, and you can actually learn a lot. When you're speaking, if you know the functional usage of the word, that really plays well. Okay, so that's for today. Thank you so much. I hope this session was informative, and all the very best in building your vocabulary. Thank you.